This is number 4.5 smoothing plane. It's one of the ones that I use regularly. It's not that it's the size of the tool or the width of the tool that makes it a smoothing plane, but the way that it's tuned. I have a slight camber on the blade so I can get a beautiful finished surface off this tool with no marks whatsoever. Then when I put a straight edge across this, what I want to see is just the littlest bit of light at the two edges. You can have a curve straight and then a curve at the again, or you can have a slight overall curve. You can have whatever shape you want as long as those corners are fully sharp and curved enough to be out of the cut. So I'll start on this 2000 grit stone. Good place to start. And it's actually a dance. When I'm taking my plane apart from using it previously, I'll look at it and say, okay, was I cutting as wide a shaving as I wanted, or was it too narrow? Let's say I'm cutting too narrow a shaving. That means I've got too much camber. I've got to work the center of the blade to reduce that curvature. In this case, it was pretty balanced. It didn't need more curvature or less curvature, so I'll just sharpen what's here. So I work at it an edge. I'm going to work more towards the middle. And I'm applying pressure with my fingers. And it's worth having a straight edge, a piece of wood, to hold up to this to sort of check your progress. The way I like to have it is a consistent arc with nice bit of light at the two edges. And I'm going to go until I get a little wire edge on the back. Now, it's really worthwhile getting replacement iron if you've got an older tool, because you're going to get a thicker iron. It's going to have a wider bevel, easier to sharpen in terms of maintaining that angle on the stone. But more importantly, it's going to be more stable. And stability is really what you're looking for in a smoothing plane. You're cutting tough shavings. You want really precision work. You want that blade to be as stable as possible. Okay, I'm getting a nice wire edge all the way along. And the nice thing about the wire edge is it shows you where you're honing. If I needed to round it more, I should have a wire edge show up at the two edges. If I want to reduce the curvature, I should have a wire edge show up in the middle first. To show you how I use a smoothing plane, let me take this tabletop, which I've already got prepared with a number 4. I leveled it with a number 4, took off the planer marks, a little bit of snipe, what I call the road dirt that happens when you build a piece. I've got my 4.5 set up, with, like I said, with a slight camber. And I'll just go from one side to the other. Try and take off strokes. Now I'm obviously leveling it to some degree here. This is pretty classic right here, what I'm looking for. I'm trying to get the widest shaving I can, and notice that the edges are slightly frayed. That means that the camber is where the edge of the blade comes out of the wood and cuts finer and finer and finer until it cuts nothing at all. I want to mic the shaving just out of curiosity to see how thick it is. I'm guessing it's about 1 thou. Now, I'm going to go right in the middle of the shaving, which is the thickest part. And what do I have? Yeah, it's just under 2 thou, and the edge is just under 1 thou. You can see and feel the difference in this area where I've touched with a smoothing plane and where my number 4 cut before. How I use a number 4.5 is no different than a number 4. It's the same basic idea of putting pressure where the sole is being supported by the work. I do work, though, from left to right or right to left in a consistent way. And it's not out of the question that you have to sometimes go over the surface twice, because you're doing some leveling that was done by the number 4. You're doing a re-leveling with the number 4.5. It's also very tricky to get the camber exactly right in your blade. Sometimes you have to tip the blade heavier to one side or the other. Let's say I leave it slightly heavy on the left side here. And if I work from right to left, what's going to happen is the slightly heavier marks I make on the left side will be erased by the very light footprint of the right side. Other planes can be tuned up for nice smoothing planes. I like to have a small plane for that use. This happens to be like an English thumb plane, a block plane, or whatever. It's got a camber on the iron. That distinguishes it as a smoothing plane. But let's say you had some sort of a piece here with a defect on it. Let's say you dinged it or something like that in the process of building it, and you wanted to eliminate that without smoothing the whole surface, which has already been smoothed very nicely. That's good. That's good. The blemish is gone. And the nice thing about using a smoothing plane for that is that it gives a nice consistent surface, much cleaner than it would be with the scraper.